if you close the door and don't allow your employees access to credit and to loans, that doesn't stop the demand. The demand is still there, and those employees will find a way to take out loans. And the only decision is, do you want it to be with a large regulated bank, which our platform enables, or do you want it to be with an unregistered, unregulated loan shark who will then, charge excessive interest rates?
If I look at today versus when we started, our business has increased by more than 50%. And the leads we've gotten in terms of expanding to other countries is massive. One of the things I really owe that to is the brand recognition about having been through the Microsoft Accelerator gives us a lot of credibility in the market. My name is Ryan Penderis. My background is in finance and audit, and I'm the founder of LynkWise, co-founder.
Hi, my name is Sean Penderis, also a background in finance, chartered accountant by trade, and I am, along with Ryan, one of the co-founders and co-CEO of LynkWise.
Can we assume that you're brothers, right?
Yes, we are brothers.
Fantastic. So the business is in good hands. Fantastic. What does the company do, and what's the interesting story behind your business, and how you come up with the company's name?
So the company's name is LynkWise, and we provide a cloud-based payroll deduction management platform, which I'm sure most people wouldn't readily be familiar with. But in a nutshell, what we do is we allow financial institutions like insurance companies and lenders the ability to do business with employees and recover their monthly installments directly from employees' payslips rather than other traditional payment methods. And this is all done by providing that sort of central system that sits between the employers on the one hand and their payroll systems, and all the financial institutions on the other side. So an interesting story behind our business would be that when we first started out, we approached a specific mining company in Namibia and told them about LynkWise, what we do, and told them about payroll deductions and what the benefits of payroll deductions are. And one of the feedback came that they didn't want to sign any payroll deduction agreements with lenders because they felt that they didn't want to encourage their employees to actually get into debt, which is obviously very, very understandable. However, the interesting thing is that about 2 years later, they then contacted us and said, because they haven't signed payroll deduction agreements with these, the large, the banks and the regulated lenders, their employees actually fell victim to sort of unregistered, unregulated payday lenders. And because of this, the employees are now in a worse situation. So they asked us if they could make use of our system to get the employees sort of to consolidate all of that loan, the loan shark loans, and then use our system to actually get the employees to be working with the large regulated financial institutions. And the interesting thing that came with that is that, if you close the door and don't allow your employees access to credit and to loans, that doesn't stop the demand. The demand is still there, and those employees will find a way to take out loans. And the only decision is, do you want it to be with a large regulated bank, which our platform enables, or do you want it to be with an unregistered, unregulated loan shark who will then, charge excessive interest rates? And so ultimately, that employer then decided to sign up with LynkWise. So in terms of coming up with the name, I will hand that over to Ryan.
The name story is short and sweet. Me and Sean were I think we were in South Africa at the time. We just met with our software developers and we mapped out the architecture for the system. And we were driving back on the train, and we were just going through words that we thought we thought, really encapsulated what we did, and that's when obviously the word link came in, because we were the link between the financial institutions and the employers' payrolls. So obviously the word link is a bit short in one syllable, so we found something that sounded nice on that. So link, we came up with LynkWise, and the domain was available, which was a bonus. A funny story is that our mom actually always still gets confused and keeps telling her friends that her son's founded LinkedIn.
That's really great. That's a very impressive story, and the inspiration behind creating the company. It serves a very good purpose, and we're quite impressed with what you're doing. It's unique, really. It's not common, and that's a niche. That's a niche. Like they say, find the road nowhere traveled, and you be the biggest traveler in the world. That's really impressive. Well done. And so we'll move forward to the questions, and I would like us to share more details with the audience about things about which industry or sector does your business operate? And what is, I think you shared that the motivating factor for solving the problem you're solving. I think, which industry does your business operate? And you can take that with which of the UN SDG goals is your company targeting or addressing primarily?
Okay, thank you. I'll take the first part of that question, then I'll hand over to Ryan with regards to the UN goals. So in terms of the industry, it deals with insurance products and personal loans. And what's happened in Namibia and many other African countries is that these insurance companies and banks have, over the years, actually approached corporates, employers, to sign these, what we call payroll deduction agreements, where the bank or the insurance company would be able to sell their product and then recover the monthly installment directly from the employee's payslip. So in terms of the main motivating factor for actually addressing the problem that we saw in getting into this industry was that it's a very obscure industry, payroll deductions. We didn't really know the extent to which all these insurance companies and banks had actually gone to almost every single employer in Namibia and signed these payroll deduction agreements. So when we started to realize that this was a huge booming business that we were sort of mainly unaware of, we started to get interested. And when we started to speak to these financial institutions who have to get their insurance deductions and loan deductions onto the payroll, and to the employers whose payroll staff has to actually manually capture all this information on the payroll systems, we started to realize that there was a huge pain point for everyone involved. And not only was it time consuming, but there was a lot of errors. And the reason for this was basically that you've got, let's call it 4 or 5 large insurance companies and 4 or 5 large banks that are emailing these deduction spreadsheets to hundreds of employers every month. And all of that information needs to be captured and updated on a monthly basis in the payroll system. So it's just a classic case of, it obviously grew. When it was small, it was the administration of it was doable, but it grew into this giant beast whereby this entire industry was run off Excel spreadsheets and emails. And so looking at the fact that there was huge pain points for the insurance companies, for the banks, and for the employers, we then said, okay, not only is this a pain point and a problem, that's worth solving, but it's a huge pain point. And so someone actually needs to solve it to make all of this, this entire system work. And just as an extra motivating factor is that these payments that are going through payroll deductions, it's people's personal loan repayments, it's people's life insurance policies. And a big issue was that they weren't being allocated accurately and in a timely manner, which means for these employees that have these amounts coming off the payslip, they thought the payment was done, they thought it was settled. Meanwhile, the financial institution on the background was struggling to allocate these payments. So an additional motivating factor is that with the LynkWise system, this is all automated with 100% accuracy, which means every single employer and employee can sleep at night knowing that if something came off their payslip, that it's been pulled correctly through to the right financial institution and allocated against their policy or their loan account. So it's a good problem to solve, because you're adding that value to each individual employee who actually has a loan or a policy that's coming off their payslip. So yeah, that's a high level overview of that, and then I'll hand over to Ryan with regards to the UN goals.
Cool, thanks. So I think there's two that we really target. The one is the number 9, which is innovation. I think this is Sean touched on it, and it's worth saying again. The industry that we work in is largely unknown and is therefore largely undigitized. So what's so interesting about what we've done is we are the first people that have digitized a completely manual industry in the way that is scalable and solving problems for thousands, if not millions, of Africans. And then the second one was actually number 10, which was reduced inequality. I think here, what really drives us at LynkWise is financial inclusion. And I think the word financial inclusion has been a bit tossed around back and forth a little bit. And it's sometimes being used as almost like a cover up for people just trying to deploy easy loans. And that's why I think we're so proud of what we've done at LynkWise, is because we've built in affordability controls, and we only work with regulated financial institutions. So this means that the blue-collar worker who initially couldn't work with these institutions now has access to them, to the regulated financial service industry, and we have built in affordability controls within our platform.
That's great. So your services are unique in all these fronts because of the understanding of the market and the ability to being able to carve such differentiating lines in integration of the informal sector and actually giving them a platform for proper financial inclusion, like you rightly explained. Thank you. These are innovative ideas that addresses the UN Sustainable Development Goals. Thank you. And I believe that your service, your products, actually provide solutions to SMEs, right?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, we provide solutions to small and medium enterprises. Can you give example of one or two that make use of your service and how it solves any pain point for them?
Yeah, so I think traditionally, if you look at the world of payroll deductions and the manual administration of payroll deductions, these financial institutions normally target your large corporates. They want to get the most bang for their buck. You sign up a payroll deduction agreement with a large fishing company, you can get access to 2,000 customers. You sign a payroll deduction with a small SME that has 5 employees, there's not as much business. So what the nice thing about the LynkWise system is that it automates the exchange of information between the financial institution and the employer. So what this means is that if you are an insurance company and within the LynkWise platform, you have access to one large corporate that has 2,000 employees or 100 small SMEs that together have, let's call it 500 employees, the processes and the systems are still the same. And so that makes it scalable from an employer's point of view. So we can add every single employer in the country or on the continent, whether you have 1 employee or 10,000 employees, the system is scalable, which means those financial institutions that traditionally would have not necessarily fully ignored, but they wouldn't have prioritized those smaller SMEs, and therefore those employees of those SMEs wouldn't have had the same access as the large corporates. Now with introduction of LynkWise, that becomes feasible, and those smaller SMEs are getting access to the same employee benefits that was traditionally reserved for only the large corporates.
Fantastic. Thank you. Okay, I think we've talked a lot about your business. So we would come down to some of the platform through which we were able to meet you now. How did you get to know about the FAST Accelerator program? And how did you feel when you got notified of your acceptance, and your expectations and all that? So let's get into it, please.
Yeah, So I'd heard about it through someone in my network had shared it on LinkedIn, and then I started doing a bit of research about the accelerator and about Flapmax, and sounded something that was really interesting to us. And then we applied, and we were actually funny. I think all the good news seems to be happening while we're traveling. We were traveling again for work, and we got the email, and I first thought maybe I first thought maybe it was a mistake because we got so excited. So we then went out celebrating, and then while we were out celebrating, we realized we had some work to do. So we went back home and got back to work.
Okay, that's great. Which means you had a different, peculiar experience with getting to know about the FAST Accelerator program. I'm excited that you had that, very unique experience with it. So how was your experience with the masterclass, the facilitators, and the staff of Flapmax and the FAST Accelerator program?
Yeah. So just to start there, I also just want to say thank you to the FAST team, and thank you to Microsoft, and thank you to Flapmax. I think the accelerator was extremely valuable. It was great that we could allow multiple. I think we had 3 of us, in the classes. The speakers that we had were extremely knowledgeable about their subject matter. There was a few things that stood out, in terms of like building, raising funds, building a advisory board and a board of directors, a board of directors and advisors. And the facilitators were very good. The staff were good. I don't know if I must go into more specifics, but overall the experience was extremely beneficial for us.
We're quite excited about that feedback, and you let us know with that it was a good program that served you well. So we will go a bit technical again. How would you describe the experience of running your solution, if at all? Are you running your solution on Microsoft Azure Cloud? And how would you describe your experience with it?
Yeah, so I think, in a nutshell, to start off with, the experience has been great. We've got another co-founder who's also our lead software developer and wrote the whole, did all the coding for us and wrote the system for us. And it was a case of when we were starting this project, looking at all our options, and we decided to go with Azure. And I think from his side, it was the first project of this nature and this size on Azure. And there was a little bit of a learning curve. But once we've got everything up and running and working, the benefits were clear. I've overseen a team for another project where we did all our own server management in-house. We bought our own servers, we hosted everything, and it is doable, but it's complex. A lot can go wrong, and you need a lot more vast range of expertise within your team. So what this allowed us to do was to say we had 2 non-technical founders, myself and Ryan, background in finance, and we had our software developer. So this basically allowed us to then not hire a full-on IT team, and spend a huge sum upfront on servers. We could just basically get it up and running, and go with it. And then every time we needed some more capacity, we would just simply upgrade our service package on Azure. So from that point of view, it's gone fantastic. And you're basically getting access to a world-class Microsoft-run IT department, and that just lets us focus on our business, focus on the product, and not have to worry about that side. So that's definitely been a good experience all around.
Thank you. I like this very practical analysis you gave. It really reflects, based on my experience of running startups, I can really relate to what you're talking about. Thank you. So how has your participation in the FAST Accelerator program helped with moving your business forward, achieving traction, brand, and all that? Can you share that, please?
If I look at today versus when we started, our business has increased by more than 50%. And if you and the leads we've gotten in terms of expanding to other countries is massive. And I think I owe one of the things I really owe that to is the brand recognition about having been through the Microsoft Accelerator gives us a lot of credibility in the market. So when we are speaking to potential partners outside of Namibia, it sort of validates us immediately and opens the door so we can have those conversations. And then also the other people in the accelerator, including our mentor, as well as the other people in the cohort. We've reached out to a lot of them, and there's potential partnerships with them in the making. And I think that's really helped us drive our growth in the last, like I said, the last 6 months we've increased by 50%. And I think it's largely due to that network.
That's great. Thank you. Impressive. I'll also go a bit technical now. Are you leveraging artificial intelligence AI in your solution, or do you intend to leverage it? And how has the Flapmax technical team supported this journey for you?
Yeah, I think we obviously had a great session with the team and with some representatives from Microsoft, and we brought in our software developer, where we actually went through all of this functionality, what's available on Microsoft Azure, and what sort of way forward is. At this point, we're still busy trying to conceptualize how to actually make use of it going forward. So the nice thing is that through this program, we've actually been, had this opportunity to have it showcased what all the sort of features and functionalities are that are built into Azure, and what potential use cases are. But as a youngish business at the moment, we're still busy trying to figure out exactly how we're going to apply it in the real world. But what's nice is that we now have a good understanding of the tools that are available, and had that chance to sit and have that technical discussion with all the right people.
Okay, nice. All right. Going to look at the entire program, the FAST program, what are your key takeaways, advice to funders, and advice to Flapmax, FAST, and the Microsoft team? And probably you've given us credit, a lot of credit anyway. But I'm saying that what's your key takeaways from the program, and your advice to funders out there, and your advice to FAST, Flapmax, and Microsoft?
I'll start from the end and go to my advice to Microsoft and Flapmax. Honestly, I think I don't really have any advice at the moment. The program was really well run. It was very beneficial, and again, I just wanted to thank you all. Then, in terms of my key takeaways from the program, I would say that I can't remember who said it, but someone said, your network is your net worth. And I think that's one of the key takeaways, again, is from the program is you don't know when your network will come into play, and it's so important to keep building it and to to maintain that, to maintain those relationships. I think my advice to founders would be to just start. If you look at where the business idea that we had when we started looks very different to what it is today. The fundamentals are the same, but we could have spent months or years refining the idea and refining the business plan. And the truth is, you have to just start because you don't know where it will end up. I also can't remember, someone said, no one's business plan survives first contact with the market, because you're changing it so much once you start getting feedback, and it's so important to just start getting that feedback.
Thank you. This is an advice even to me too, in case I start a startup like it, Thank you.
Probably my favorite quote on that is that you don't need to be great to start, but you need to start to be great. And I think it's definitely with myself as well. I put things off because I wanted to be perfect before even taking that first step. But at some point, you got to just take that first step and get going. And as Ryan said, you then learn as you go.
Okay, let me also give you a quote. You don't have to launch. You can launch crappy, or don't launch a crappy idea.
Nice.
Yeah.
One thing I always thought in terms of the journey of entrepreneurship is that the man who loves walking will go further than the man who loves the destination. And I think that's such an important thing. When you learn to love to walk, the goals and achievements come as almost an afterthought.
That's great. That's really great and very impactful. Thank you. These are very great highlights. So we're going to talk about publicity and product marketing now. How long has the brand been in existence? That's LynkWise. You've listed your core services and products. What are your breakthrough deals or any announcement you would like to let us know about? Well, how long? Let's start with how long has the brand been in existence, and what are your breakthrough deals that you would like to announce or tell us about?
Okay, so the brand has been in existence since around mid 2019. Not necessarily the best time to launch a new business, considering I think within about 6 months of starting, we had our Corona lockdowns. And then maybe just to quickly touch in on the core products and services before handing over to Ryan. I mean, the nice thing about LynkWise is that we've basically got one core product, which is that payroll deduction management platform. I think rolling that out throughout Africa, which is the goal and the dream, is probably going to keep us quite busy over the next couple of years. And I mean, just to quickly touch in on that product, it's a cloud-based system that basically sits between financial institutions and the employer's payroll system. And what we do is we facilitate the exchange of information. So financial institutions are able to search for employees, check affordability, and load deductions on those employees' profiles directly on the payroll. And from the employer's side, they're able to basically pull all of that information directly into the payroll system without any manual intervention. And they're also able to share certain payroll information with us that allows us to do those affordability checks. So that's basically, in a nutshell, we're then that centralized system that sits between the banks, the insurance companies, the lenders, and on the other side, the employers. We are looking at add-on additional services or products rather. Now that we've got this integration with the payroll system, we're looking at launching a LynkWise marketplace, which would basically be a collection of employee benefits that your employees as a LynkWise employer would get access to. So that's something that's in the pipeline. And then I will hand over to Ryan to discuss the deals and announcements.
Thank you. So in terms of some breakthrough deals and milestones and achievements, since we've been in the program this year, I'll start in the beginning. In March, we got invited to the Africa Arena in Joburg, which was a highlight of the top 30 startups in Southern Africa. We won that event and got awarded the most innovative startup in Southern Africa, and got invited to the Africa finale in November in Cape Town. So hopefully in November we will be awarded the most innovative startup in Africa, not just Southern Africa. We also are quite excited that we've finally become Pan-African, and we've got our first customers in Zambia. So we're now operating in 2 African countries, and we've got 2 more in the very near future coming on board. Then in terms of employees, we've crossed the 15,000 employee mark, and we've crossed the 100 million rand mark in terms of collections for our clients.
These are really great stuff. Thank you for sharing this. And we know as a fact that just keep on doing what you're doing, and more news are coming, greater ones. Like we said, we're very much excited about LynkWise. And we see a future with LynkWise as one of the next unicorns out of Africa. You're on the right path, and we can only wish you the very best.
Thank you.
We're really glad that you're part of the FAST family. Of course, beyond here, extensively part of the FAST family. Okay. So wrapping up our discussions, we'll be looking at How will you rate the startup ecospace in the country, in Namibia and across Africa? And any specific challenges you would like to point out?
Yeah, so I think, just to start off with Namibia, Namibia is a tiny country. In terms of population, we've got 2 million people. And, with that, everything's just smaller here in terms of any business that's going on. And that's also counts for the startup space. However, what we've seen over the last 2 years is that there's been a lot of action and excitement in that space within Namibia. So we've got some good players that are coming in that are actually that sole mandate is to try and facilitate startups, and we're obviously actively, taking part in that from both sides, just as a startup in our own right, but then also as just someone that can potentially help facilitate, the next startups that are coming through. So I think then across Africa, I mean, geez, there's a couple of African countries that just seem to be, booming and leading the way when it comes to startups. And, if you look at the likes of Kenya, Nigeria, South Africa, and I think, perhaps it's just a case of, if we look at the landscape across Africa, people like to put Africa in one box. We are Africa. Africa is a ginormous continent with, a huge variety in cultures and languages. And, so it's actually, if you look at it now from a founder's point of view, sitting in Namibia, it's an intimidating prospect having to grow and expand throughout Africa. And so I think that is probably one of the challenges. I know that I've heard from some people that they specifically singled out South African startups, and said, told the founders, guys, you do realize that there are countries that exist north of the South African border. And I think that's probably one of the issues is founders, in across Africa like to stay within their country. And the biggest thing that we need to do is basically build these networks to make it easier and less intimidating to expand throughout Africa. And as Ryan touched on earlier, that's one of the beauties of this program is as soon as you start to meet people from other countries and chat to them about their local market and see the businesses that they've started in the various countries, it becomes a lot more of a doable task to then think, okay, I can actually go to that country and start to roll out my product or service. So I think that's all I have to say on that.
I'll just add one thing to that in terms of two things. One, in terms of the Namibian ecosystem, it is very small and the market here is very small, so we have different challenges. But one of the things a lot of businesses here focus on is the negative side of a small market. And I think, some advice there would be to find the size of our market being so small is also, I think, our superpower, because it means we got to build a very robust business in a market that we understood very well and could get access to the big players. And now that we have this business and we've ironed out all the sort of the challenges in an easier market, we are now ready to expand into other markets. And I think that's also important for every ecosystem, every country will have its challenges in terms of what their country doesn't have compared to the next country. But it's important to find those negatives and turn them into positives. And if you look at, for example, the African ecosystem as a whole, you see a lot of African entrepreneurs sharing letters from Y Combinator or Sequoia Capital warning about this downturn and how to extend your runway and be nervous. We're still looking to at least double the amount of money that was raised next year. So things are harder in the first world because things that are usually easy there. In Africa, things are always hard. So we never get hit as hard. We never get hit by these challenges because we're used to daily challenges.
That's great. So our challenges as Africans built us to be more resilient, to face situations tougher than an average person would. Thank you for that highlight. It's like turning the negative into positive for everyone. Thank you. Right. So talk to us about how you're leveraging your self-motivation grades. I think you've addressed this really, because you've told us about how you're putting up with the challenges and now you'll be able to address some of the issues. So let's just go straight to, where do you hope to be in the next 3 to 5 years with your business? What's your
Cool.
prospects for the next 3 to 5 years as LynkWise? Are we
Thanks.
looking at IPO? Are we looking at, extending across across Africa?
Yeah.
I mean, just prepare the audience, prepare us too to be ready. Where do you see us going to?
So I'll keep it short. I think 3 to 5 years. Our goal is 5 countries and 1 million users. We like to be ambitious, but I think it's very achievable. So yeah, 5 countries, 1 million users.
Yeah, I mean, we obviously haven't even started to think about going public or doing anything like that, an IPO. It's something we'd have to kind of cross that bridge when we get there. At the moment, the next 3 to 5 years, I think we just want to focus on growth, and as Ryan said, get ourselves into as many different African countries as possible, and then take it from there.
All right. Thank you so much, guys. It's been a really great time. It's been an exposing time with us. I like what you guys are doing. From the FAST team, we're quite impressed with you, and we are ready to give you all the support you need to grow. And thank you for sharing this time with us. Of course, we're here for each other anytime, and we wish you the very best in your journey.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.